angry with God. When Jacob says, "You have bereaved me of my children," who's the you? The you can't be his children. Why would he blame his kids for circumstances beyond their control? There's only one person, one entity that Jacob can hold responsible for all the evil that has befallen him, and that is God. Because in Jewish thought as well as our own, we believe God to be the primary mover, the first cause. So we hold God responsible not just for what he does, also for what he allows. And when we can't make sense of what God has allowed, when we can't reconcile what God has permitted, when we can't understand why certain prayers were answered with "not at this time," when certain petitions were met with a response of "later," when specific requests were put on hold until Jesus comes, when we realize that we've got to keep making payments even because some desires, some wishes, some hopes, some dreams have been put on a layaway plan, and you won't get them until you get to glory. It is here where we are most tempted to let our love grow cold. And here's what we know from the passages leading up to Genesis 42. Joseph is not dead. He's alive. Joseph does not appear to desire the death of Simeon, and definitely does not want to kill Benjamin. And here's the question that I want to wrestle with as we come to a crisis, a critical point in this message. Why doesn't God let Jacob know that things are not as bad as they seem to be? Let me ask the question another way. Why would God allow Jacob to live with a distorted view of reality? While we know that Jacob's view of reality is not real, it certainly seems real to him, and Jacob is living his reality. Watch this. Jacob's view of reality is based on all these things. It is not based on all things. Okay. That side sleep. Let me try this side. It is based on all these things. Okay, some of you are missing my play on words, so let me break it down for you. Jacob is not taking everything into account. He losses and not the wins. All Jacob is considering is the disappointments, but none of the joys. All Jacob is dealing with are the seemingly unanswered prayers, not all of the other prayers that have been answered in the affirmative. Jacob has fallen for one of Satan's oldest tricks. Jacob has fallen for one of Satan's best designed sophistries. Jacob has been duped as Eve was duped in the Garden of Eden. Satan got Eve to focus on the one tree she couldn't have instead of all the trees she could have. And similarly, Jacob is looking at all these things instead of looking at all things. Somebody put it in the chat, all things, not all these things. And I will ask my question again, but in a different way. Wouldn't a loving and compassionate God clarify Jacob's distorted view of reality? Wouldn't a God who loves us like a father loves his children not allow us to live with years of regret and sorrow? Why wouldn't God allow Jacob in on his plans? Why pain and suffering plays in our lives in terms of maturing us spiritually? I could talk to you about the role that pain and suffering played in the life of Christ in making him a merciful and faithful high priest, which is all true and theologically sound. But I'm not going to do that today because there are 2 points that I need you to walk away with. Here they are. Point number 1. God allowed the circumstances which gave Jacob this distorted view of reality, but Jacob chose not to consider the bigger picture. Jacob chose to focus on all these things instead of all things. While God may have allowed the circumstances that gave Jacob this distorted view of reality, Jacob chose to not consider the bigger picture. Jacob chose to only look at all these things. Jacob chose to only consider the L's. Jacob chose to only focus on the setbacks and disappointments. And just as Jacob refused to be comforted, he could have chosen to be comforted. He could have chosen to believe that God had not let him down. He could have chosen to believe that his latter days would be greater than his. I am choosing to be comforted. I will no longer refuse to be comforted. Point number 2. God couldn't trust Jacob with the truth. Jacob probably would have been working at cross purposes with God if he had known the truth. This feels like a moment from that movie, A Few Good Men, when Jack Nicholson's character tells Tom Cruise's character, "You can't handle the truth." The reason that I believe that God didn't share more with Jacob and clear up his distorted view of reality is because Jacob would probably have messed up God's plan. Listen to Joseph in Genesis 45 when he reveals himself to his brothers and reveals what God had been working on. Genesis 45, verse 5. He says, "Now do not be angry or grieved with yourselves, because you sold me here, but God sent me before you to preserve life." Joseph. Man, what a reality. Joseph says, "You sold me, God sent me." I try that one more time. You sold me, God sent me. Look at Joseph living his reality. You sold me, real. God sent me, more real. You hurt me, real. God healed me, more real. You thought my life was worthless, real. God had bigger plans for my life than you could ever imagine, more real. Listen to Joseph as he continues in verses 7 and 8. "God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant in the earth and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Now, therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh and the Lord of all his household and ruler over the land of Egypt." When we look at the broader scope of God's plans, I believe, take it for what it's worth, that God didn't tell Jacob because Jacob probably would have messed up the plan. Can we talk? Do you believe that Jacob would have allowed Joseph to be a slave in Egypt for all of those years? Do you believe that Jacob would have allowed Joseph to remain in jail? I believe that Jacob would have wrecked the family trying to get Joseph out of Egypt. Jacob would never have allowed Joseph to be prepared by God to be second ruler in Egypt, given all that preparation entailed. God was trying to and miss the forest for the trees. Are we going to focus on the one or two things that fall into the category of all these things, or are we going to consider all things? Are we going to make Romans 8:28 and 8:37 the base ingredients of our lives? Let's remind ourselves of these two verses one more time. Romans 8:28, "And we know," not we think, not we believe, not we hope, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purposes. Romans 8:37, "And all these things we overwhelmingly conquer through him who loved us." I like the New King James better. "In all these things we are more," come on, say it with me, more than what? Conquerors through him who loved us. Watch this. We are called to be conquerors without knowing God's bigger plans. We are called to be victorious even when we don't know how all things are going to work together for our good. We are called to overcome even when we are suffering all these things. We are called to preach and teach, to share the good news of the hashtag all things work together for good. I got a word for someone in this house. I got a word for someone listening to me online. Don't refuse to be comforted. Don't let all of these things keep you out of heaven. Don't let all of these things cause your love to grow cold. Don't let all these things cause you to fall away. Don't let all these things keep you from preaching and teaching the gospel. Keep your eyes on all things. You still got some more living to do. You still got some more witnessing to do. You still got some more giving to do. You still got some more loving to do. You still have some more sharing to do. You still have some more praying to do. Before I wrap this message up, got three things I want to share with you real quick. The first two are quotes from the writings of Ellen White. You know, that prolific spiritual author who has blessed so many of our lives? I want you to hear these statements that she makes. She says, God never leads his children otherwise than they would choose to be led. If they could see the end from the beginning and discern that infinite love ordered the experiences that seemed most trying. One more quote. In the future life, the mysteries that have annoyed and disappointed us will be made plain. We shall see our seemingly unanswered prayers and disappointed hopes have been among our greatest blessings. One more lesson from the life of Jacob, and then we're going to shout our way out of here. I want to show you when Jacob finally gets it, that God has been working all things together for his good. We go back to Genesis 45, and now we skip down to verses 27 and 28. When they told him all the words of Joseph that he had spoken to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, listen to these words, the spirit of their father revived. Then Israel said, the love of Christ. If you don't believe that we are more than conquerors, you face the possibility that you may fall away. Here's the question as I close. How much does God have to show you for you to say it is enough? Have you seen God make a way out of no way that you can say it is enough? I trust you, God, to work all things for my good. Have you seen God fix that which you thought couldn't be fixed? Have you seen God heal that which you thought the doctor said couldn't be healed? Have you seen God resurrect your life when you made such a mess of it that you thought there's no coming back from this? If you have seen God do the impossible, fix the improbable, mend the irreparable, find the irretrievable, comfort the inconsolable, love the unlovable, would you stand to your feet and let your neighbor know, let this pavilion know, let the world know, it is enough, it is enough, it is enough. I am more than a conqueror. I am more than a conqueror. I am more than a conqueror. I've seen enough. I've experienced enough. I've been through enough. It is enough. It is enough. It is. I have a story to tell. It is enough. I have a testimony to give. It is enough. I have a faith to share. It is enough. I have a song to sing. It is enough. I have a job to do. It is enough. I will go. It is enough. I will witness. It is enough. I will pray. It is enough. I will give. It is enough. I will forgive. It is enough. I will let go of the hurt. It is enough. It is. It is enough. I've got a joy that the world didn't give me, and the world can't take away. I'm going to ask the praise team to come on. Come on, praise team. I want us to join them in singing this song. Through it all, I've learned. Anybody here learned? I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. I've learned to depend upon His word.
I've had many tears and sorrow. Tomorrow